there are two partners. We've got two parts to a question. There are two partners in an LLC. One of the partners is acting as managing director and takes salary. Can we charge it as expense? Yes, you can. Okay, so this is a very good, it's a great question, by the way. So, and this particular, perhaps, I don't want to call it a misunderstanding, but maybe misconception, happens a lot in the UAE, and that's because a lot of the time when you have partners, shareholders in the UAE, they're also working sort of shareholders in. But if you think about businesses and perhaps like the bigger businesses in the West, let's say as an example, right? So most of the time, the shareholders, the owners of the companies, they're not the ones working, right? So they are shareholders, the investors, but they hire others to actually run the company. So in the UAE, there's often like this sort of a mix. There's the shareholders or the investors in the company are also actually employees of the company. So in other words, that in your particular case and in those kinds of cases, the person wears two hats, right? One is a shareholder, and the other one is a managing director, accountant, whatever the expertise might be, but ultimately an employee of the company, right? So therefore, he's not getting paid a dividend. He's actually getting paid as an employee of the company. So there should be an agreement, and obviously the salary should be sort of proportionate to his contributions to the company, and perhaps that role and sort of the logical things if you think about it. But I understand that people often think, well, because I'm a shareholder, I'm not allowed to receive the sort of the pay. Well, what you're not allowed to receive on a regular basis is dividend, because dividend obviously gets paid at the end of the year, and it has to be treated for accounting purpose, in particular now with the corporate tax, a certain way. But salary is something else. So if think of it this way, if you as a shareholder did not do that job, who would? You would hire somebody and you would pay somebody that salary to do that job, and that salary would obviously be considered as an expense. So the short answer is yes, you can, and it's a great question. I wish that more people sort of thought of these kinds of dynamics in this way, because and now it's more relevant because obviously the corporate tax, where you do have to separate the type of pay, salary versus dividends, but make sure that it's well documented. So don't just pay for cars, for schooling, for housing, just left, right, and center as kind of one lump sum, as used to be the case, which was okay before the introduction of the tax. Now that the tax is in place, we need to be a little more specific about how we designate certain expenses.